Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is another Lost in the Pond reaction, and this one is 8 American things Britain doesn't have a word for part 2. And I did the reaction to part 1 a couple weeks back, and it was a fun video to do. You seem to really enjoy it, and it went down really well. And again, it's just fun to see these types of videos that just show I've no differences in the language, even though we speak the same language. Just the huge differences. It is kind of crazy, and especially how there is specific words that we have in the UK or in the US that the other doesn't have. I find it strange. Or we have words for things that we don't have in the other countries. I don't know, I just find it quite strange, but it's fun to learn about, and I just enjoy watching these videos, and it's just loads of people seem to enjoy my reactions to it. But shout out to Lawrence, of course. Links in the description to this video where you can find his channel. You can subscribe to him there, man, because his videos are just fun to see. But yeah, quick shout out to Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those interested in following. Closing in on 7k on my Instagram. Save my Patreon, links all there. And I mean, yeah, let's just jump into this to see what is it items, just things, what things you have words for in the US that we don't have in the UK.
And it turns out that Cheese Whiz, which sounds like something you might be sold on a dark corner in Camden, is really only marketed in Canada, Mexico, the United States, the Philippines, and Venezuela.
Cheese Whiz.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to things and stuff. Particularly things and stuff for which the other country doesn't have a word. Now, you may remember that a few weeks ago I did a video that touched on these very things. 8 American things that Britain doesn't even have a word
those
for.
Well, they were the ones where like I was asking what would you dip them in, I think, and people were like, what do people say? I can't remember. The video was so long, well, not so long, but it's quite long ago. I can't remember the comments. I can't fucking remember, but people were saying some interesting sources to have them, or not even sources at all. I think people were actually saying you just have them alone. They're just best on their own.
Yourself for the greatest sequel since The Empire Strikes Back, The Two Towers, and Psycho 3. Because this is 8 American things that Brits don't even have a word for, Part 2, Return of the Hush Puppy. And so, after 13 years of living in the United States, what other crazy things do we not have back in my homeland? Let's take a look.
See, I've heard these Tater Tots. I hear about these all the time. When I see them, I think I'm going to know what they are. They're obviously potato things. Tater Tots, what's my guess? I hear about these all the time.
What a surprise. We're going to begin this list, just as we're going to end it, with American food. Tater Tots. What the heck are Tater Tots? Well, many years ago, when my wife suggested that we eat Tater Tots as a starter/appetizer, I thought she'd lost her mind and was ordering from the kids menu. But it turns out that Tater Tots, which are a kind of grated potato that are deep fried and turned into a cylinder.
I mean, looks good, to be fair. So like, you grate the potato, it looks like with cheese. And wait, is this the potato? Because the potato is grated. This doesn't look like grated potato. Is this like sausage or something?
Are popular among many Americans, no matter the potato that are deep fried and turned into a cylinder.
Wait. Let me hear it one more time.
Bring from the kids menu. But it turns out that Tater Tots, which are a kind of grated potato that are deep fried and turned into a cylinder, are popular among many Americans, no matter the person's age or ability to make healthy choices. And while we love a good potato in Britain, the closest I came to experiencing anything like this was devouring a fish cake. And I know what you're thinking, Lawrence, you lost your blooming marbles. Fish and potato are not the same thing. But a lot of fish cake is battered, and for me, the best kind does include potato. Either way, Tater Tots. They're best with ketchup, unlike these.
Lowriders.
And while that was a terrible segue, can you remember a few weeks ago when I said this? The word car hop has nothing to do with dogs, because that would be mental. Furthermore, a car hop is not a type of car that hops, because see previous comment. Well, I was reminded by Jeff, one of my longtime patrons, that America does have cars that hop, and not just Herbie. Lowrider cars are exactly as they sound. They're specifically customized to have a lower body, right? A bit like a wrestler after multiple back surgeries. And, you know, I'm not a mechanic. I don't understand how it all works. But basically, these cars have a height adjust.
Oh, it's the low. I know what these are. I didn't know they're called lowriders though. They're the ones that sort of jump kind of thing. Oh, Okay, I do know what these are. What am I even saying?
Suspension that allows them to do things that would make the Transformers themselves. And while lowriders were popular in West Coast hip-hop and featured in the music videos of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, us Brits aren't cool enough to drive anything like this, but then again, we did give the world the Mini. Meanwhile, Jeff on Patreon is on a roll because he also brought to my attention this.
Oh, Jeff, man. The plug Jeff. Arroyo.
In the original video, you may remember that I talked about a geological phenomenon known as buttes. Well, there's one other type of phenomenon that, while not exclusive to the United States, it's only found in arid regions of the world that are similar to America's southwest. I'm talking about Arroyo. An arroyo is a kind of temporary dry creek or gulch, and they often come about after a series of flash floods. And as you've probably guessed, it's taken from the Spanish word arroyo. In Spanish, arroyo just means any small river. And it's quite comforting to hear that, because if an arroyo magically showed up in the United Kingdom, I think we just call it a stream or an English puddle. Anyway, while we're on the subject of names, that brings us on
just
to
a
this.
puddle. Miranda Rights.
This entry comes with a little bit of a caveat. In the United States, Miranda Rights, or a Miranda warning, is basically a notification.
Oh, it's to do like a storm or a flood that's going to happen, or something like that.
From a police officer.
No.
Warning of your right to remain silent.
I was close. I wasn't close. Oh my god. I shouldn't have said anything. Why did I speak? Why did I just let it go? I don't know why I thought that. I just thought I'd try and sound smart, and the 1% chance I was right. Miranda Rights.
Silent. How do I know this? Because I accidentally fell into the Mississippi naked once. And the term came about not because the arresting officer is called Miranda, though hilariously that probably has happened, but because it derives from the 1966 US Supreme case, Miranda versus Arizona. Anyway, the reason that I said that this one comes with a caveat is that we do have the right to silence in the United Kingdom. We just don't have a single word or person's name that encapsulates it like America does. So with that in mind, why don't I come up with one? From this day forward, the British right to remain silent will be known as Gemma Rights, which I've just realised sounds like my friend's name, Gemma Wright. Now, I do want to stress that there are subtle differences between Miranda rights and the British right to remain silent, but more on that in another video. In the meantime, let's keep going.
Homecoming.
Every year,
when
across the United States, you'll hear this word, homecoming, and that's something I had to explain to my cousin, Tom.
Is it when like someone comes back from the army? I don't know. I'm just having stupid guesses now. Comes back from the army and like sees their family.
Holland. Homecoming is this huge thing that takes place during September or October, where, you know, universities, schools, sometimes entire
fuck's sake,
towns welcome back their alumnus or former community members, and they put on this huge do, which can include a football game, school choirs, marching bands, and they coronate a homecoming queen. And we don't have anything like this in Britain because you know, we have an actual queen. That said, we do use all of the letters in the word homecoming to declare something else. It's not homecoming, it's coming home. Football.
Oh, Lawrence, shut up, Lawrence. I've seen that he likes his football, so you gotta love to see it, man. You love to see it. Lawrence knows his stuff, although it's probably not coming home.
Coming home. My American audience is so confused right now. But speaking of ball games, batter up. I'm never doing that again.
Wiffle Ball.
Many moons ago, during my first summer in the United States of America, I was physically dragged into what I thought was my first ever game of baseball, but baseball for kids. Into my hands was thrust a round bat that was long and thin like my pen collection. Coming at me was a ball, but not one of those heavy balls that I'd come to associate with baseball, but a white perforated plastic ball that looked like one of those things you put in the washing machine.
We used to have these in primary school.
Dramatically, in slow motion, I did hit the ball, but also my mother-in-law's cousin. The game in question, while a variation of baseball, is called Wiffle Ball. And since baseball itself hasn't really made many waves in the United Kingdom, thanks largely to the unfathomable allure of cricket, not to mention the clearly superior game of rounders, Wiffle Ball is way at the back of the queue, to the extent that if we had it in Britain, we'd probably just call it baseball. And with that, I can already sense Americans coming at me with their bats. Put them down. I'm just the messenger. You know what? Let's move on to a non-divisive American sport for which the Brits don't have a word.
We do have a word for it though. Unless he's gonna throw in something that makes it make sense.
I'm joking.
Oh, fuck's sake! You start having a stinker in this video, man. California
That's right, we return now to America's royal family. You see, whether or not this is true, in my head, I imagine that homecoming queens grow up to be really rich. And so by the time this has happened and she moves into the house of her dreams, she spends every night sleeping on top of the California king. And because some people in the world have filthy minds, I should probably clarify that a California king is a size of bed. But then you knew that already if you've seen my video on 5 ways that British and American bedrooms are very different. You see, in the UK, bed sizes end with the Super King, which is 72 inches by 78. Anything after that and we simply don't have a word for it. California King is almost 6 inches longer, and I hope that my Aunt Ethel didn't turn on the video at that sentence. But even though I discussed this in a previous video, I really wanted to include it in this one, because it turns out the California King isn't America's biggest ever mattress size. In fact, it's been beaten to that title by some of America's other all-conquering monarchs. The Wyoming King, a perfect square, measures in at 84 by 84 inches, while no mattress comes close to dethroning the Alaskan King, that measures in at a whopping and quite frank...
Bro, this is probably bigger than my room. That is ridiculous.
Stupid 108 by 108 inches. Just thinking about that makes me want to go and lie down. But I can't do that yet because we are now ready for our final entry.
Cheese whiz. So this is what he started with. I'm thinking like cheese spray, but we've obviously got a word for that.
As has been a theme during this video, today's final entry comes at the suggestion of one of my patrons, Deborah, who asks, is Cheese Whiz a thing in the UK? And the answer is no. But what is Cheese Whiz? Well, Cheese Whiz is basically a processed cheese sauce. And you can put it on many things, but it's arguably most synonymous with Philly cheesesteak. And it turns out that Cheese Whiz, which sounds like something you might be sold on a dark corner in Camden, is really only marketed in Canada, Mexico, the United States, the Philippines, and Venezuela, making it a memo that most certainly got lost in the pond. And there's probably a good many reasons for this, but one of them is that we in Britain are quite proud of our cheeses. Then again, America itself has a host of better cheese offerings than this. And Britain should probably be thankful that Cheese Whiz hasn't made its way into the shopping aisle or the dictionary. That's it for this episode. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter.
But is it like sort of sprayed cheese in? Oh, that's going to be a loud bang. I apologise. Like sprayed cheese or something. The same kind of consistency because it sounds kind of familiar. Not familiar. It sounds kind of similar. But yeah, man, I love seeing these. They're so fun. I was having a stinker in this video. I wasn't doing very good. I'm not gonna lie, but I enjoyed it. Homecoming has always been tied strongly to American football. Not to argue semantics, although I suppose that's part of the channel's raison. Can't say that. The US right to silence is the Fifth Amendment, and the right to attorney is part of the Sixth Miranda Rights warning. I did a triple take when soccer came across to the screen. Tater Tots are a guilty pleasure, a holdover from childhood. They do look good, to be fair. They look really nice. You heard me, Lawrence. I let out a chuckle, and I just had a surgery today. That hurt a lot. You'll get what's due, man. It's good to laugh when you're in pain, as long as it doesn't make you hurt more. I had the right to remain silent, but I didn't have the ability to run right. Alaskan King for when you, your family, and your friends want to sleep together to stay warm. That bed size is insane, man. What was it, 102 by 102, I think? That is absolutely nuts. That genuinely might be bigger than my room. Maybe not, but still, that's massive, bro. But, you know, I mean, it's how it is, isn't it? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoy this stuff, and you seem to enjoy it as well. So, I mean, yes, just some more stuff you like this you want to see in the future. And until next time, like, subscribe.